I'm going to talk to you about the biggest problem, I think, in journalism today, or one of the biggest. And that is the celebrity culture, where science, great science stories that Elsaby and Mia and Nathan writing for Groundup and Sarah Wild, these people write, and that many of these stories quite often stand over to the next day or 3 or 4 or 5 days later because Bobby van Jaarsveld has taken off his t-shirt, or some celebrity concert is being taken place in Cape Town. So I'm going to have a look at the 4 basics. This conference for me is a link between the ethics of journalism combined with the ethics of science. And the first, there are basic 4. I'm also a media ombudsman for Media 24, where I deal with more than 90 Media 24 newspapers scattered all over the country. And the types of problems, if there's a complaint against the paper, I have to douse the fires and solve a problem. So I'm briefly looking at the 4 pillars of ethical journalism: reporting news as truthfully and accurately as possible without fear or favor. That's why President Zuma is very uneasy at the moment, and President Bob across the Limpopo. The second one is minimizing harm, because we have to report news accurately, but quite often it clashes with the fact that we are exposing people and they become vulnerable, whether they're crooks or so, they have children, and it's a whole chain of events. The question of acting independently, is there interference by editors? Else we've touched upon it, where editors interfere with the stories in writing headlines that are inaccurate. And then the last point being accountable. Are we accountable in the media? And I want to look at the question of science news and the media's ethical obligations, accuracy, working with secondary and tertiary sources, ignoring the original peer-reviewed and subsequent studies. This is the most serious problem, and Mia touched upon it. The moment science journalists are sidelined because it becomes a big political story, then you have political reporters and editors who don't know a freaking clue about peer-reviewed research or the system of why peer review is important. The question of minimizing harm. Are the media holding quacks to account as they do with politicians and other spheres of society? I say emphatically no. If so, then why is the anti-vaccination campaign so harmfully successful? Science reporters are doing their best, but it's not on the front burner of many news institutions because politicians get the shine all the time. And the anti-vaccination campaign has become a big political issue. We saw it this morning. I think it was Tom's slide on what President Trump was saying on vaccinations, besides his ignorance about climate change. The question of acting independently, if and when captured by celebrity culture, where is the independence? To report science accurately and truthfully. And then the question of accountability. Why is science news given the cold shoulder by the media when there is a dire need in the developing world to create the spark of wonder, to use the words of Carl Sagan, for science and scientists? And what I'm coming back to that, the question of what is the media's educational role to get science, to get young people exposed to the media, excited about science. How do celebrities mislead about science? The first thing is they give medical advice. They do not understand the language of science, mathematics, and I'm coming back to each one of them. They do not understand the language of science, which is mathematics, and are mostly totally scientifically illiterate. I'm sorry to say it, it is true. Bobby van Jaarsveld, for example, is propagating all sorts of quackery products. They wage campaigns against sound and evidence-based science. They glorify and celebrate quacks, offering them a platform from which their strange, dangerous and unscientific ideas can be launched. They link their names and role models to status to quack products and vitamin gimmicks, and either market these actively or through institutional quack institutes. And then they have no understanding of the scientific method and importance of peer-reviewed and evidence-driven science. They proclaim new diets, inventions, findings, and other non-evidence-based products as the alpha and omega and holy grail to a healthy lifestyle, to a healthy life. Let's have a look. They give medical advice. Their medical advice is usually risky and unscientific. And you see those four people there. Such as the marketers of homeopathy. Michael Marshall is in the audience. Don't miss his talk tomorrow, the first session tomorrow. Driven the campaign, the 1023 campaign against homeopathy in the United Kingdom. And the question of the anti-vaxxers. Gwyneth Paltrow with her group website. Jenny McCarthy, the big driving force behind anti-vaccination, because his son has autism. Jim Carrey, the same. Bobby van Jaarsveld, Prince Charles. I see Edzard Erns regularly attacks the prince, the future king. And then Pamela Anderson. They give medical advice free and for all, and the media publish it. Why should you publish this? They do not understand the language of science, mathematics, and are scientifically illiterate. Mariah Carey, who explained the title of her 2008 album, E is equal to MC square, said, as emancipation equals Mariah Carey times 2. I don't know if she had mathematics at school, but she lost it somewhere along the road. They wage campaigns against sound and evidence-based science, the anti-vaccination campaign that can protect young children against diseases. Jenny McCarthy again, she was a pin-up girl for Playboy magazine, rest the soul of the founder of it last month. Jim Carrey and Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, the great actor that we all have so much respect for because of his great acting, now on the anti-vaccination bandwagon. They glorify quacks, offering a platform from which their strange, dangerous and unscientific ideas can be launched. Oprah Winfrey, she brought Jenny McCarthy onto her show and calling her a mother warrior, giving credibility to the unscientific and baseless link between autism and vaccinations. I think Oprah's, the role she played to get people reading, and that is excellent, and things like that. But that is one of the problems that we have quite often. These talk show hosts and these celebrities, they don't make a distinction between nonsense and common sense and scientifically based. Let's talk about South Africa. Rudolf Landman and George Mazarakis at carte blanche, allowing the fraudster psychic Marietta Tennyson and the inventor and ex-detective Dani Krugel, whose magical machine apparently uses the principles of quantum physics to trace missing people. I was so cross when I was at the Burger, the science editor. I wrote a column for News 24 because they brought in a psychic and this Dani Krugel, you see him there, this detective. He phoned me one day and asked me, what can I do so that I can become acceptable? I said, well, let other scientists test your machine and prove, let engineers come and test it, whether you can find the DNA, a missing person through the DNA of your machine. where they put a hair on the machine, and then the machine points to where. He tried to find Madeleine McCann, who went to London, and the Guardian put a picture on page 3 of him staring over the ocean there, where she disappeared. I was very shocked at the Guardian because they were an excellent newspaper, that they even gave this quack any exposure. Then the other day I nearly had a heart attack when this new Kyknet television station, Afrikaans station Via, it's a lifestyle station on DSTV. The first day they started hosting Tennyson and her daughter Julia talking to the dead. And when you criticize them, they don't understand. How can you be so angry? Well, then they link their names and role model status to quack products. Bruce Fordyce advertising the magical Rama balance bracelet, now banned in several countries as a fraudulent product. After Bruce Fordyce started advertising it, the Protea cricket team also used it, but it didn't help them. At that stage, they were not very good. They lost their balance in front of the wickets all the time. And then Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop products. I don't know if you've ever tried to go onto her website to see what she's saying there. Hold your heart. Then we have the Honourable Patrick Holford. They have no understanding of the scientific method and importance of peer-reviewed and evidence-driven science. Ben Goldacre exposed Patrick Holford in chapter 9 of his book Bad Science, where he showed that in his New Optimum Nutrition Bible, it's interesting, it's not the New Optimum Nutrition Quran or any other holy book, in the first edition, distorting scientific findings with vitamin C as a counter against cancer, HIV/AIDS, vitamin A for autism. And Holford tried to deny it and went into debate, and eventually he scrapped those parts in the next edition of his book. And the other day I went into Somerset West, there's a big Dis-Chem chemist, and my goodness, there was a sign outside the door, Patrick Holford will be here signing his books. That is a scientific institution, a chemist. It shouldn't happen. Pharmacy. Evidence and wishful thinking. You have evidence on the one side, it weighs heavier than wishful thinking, where you have hard facts proven by observation, testing, independent confirmation by others. For example, vaccines eradicating disease. And then you have wishful thinking on the other side, the mere expectations, no factual support, dreams, hallucinations, misleading by scam artists and quacks, and I could say celebrities. Are journalists co-merchants of doubt? I don't know who of you've read the book by Naomi Oreskes and Eric Conway, Merchants of Doubt, in which they show how scientists were misused or utilized by politicians to spread unscientific views. It's happening in America at the moment with the appointments that President Trump has made on climate change and the Environmental Protection Agency and all those things. The misconception of journalists that the view of scientists and non-scientists should be balanced. It is one of the most serious misconceptions in journalism, because journalism follows the rule, the audi alteram partem rule. You must let the other side be heard. But it doesn't have to be like that in science. The Flat Earth Society had their conference last week. Do we have to, every time we publish a picture of the astronauts of our planet as being round, do we have to go to the Flat Earth Society to get the comments, to balance the story? It's absolute nonsense. The same with evolution and creationism. Does Elsevier have to ask creationists, Dr. Bernard Ficker, for example, famous one here in our facility, what do you say about this new discovery of Homo naledi, that it is so many million years old? So many, 100,000. It's 300,000 years. Can't remember. No. So when it comes to science, you don't have to balance the story just to balance it, to get the nutcases to state their case. The he said, she said framework of modern journalism ignores the reality that until a claim passes that judgment, that peer review, Mia referred to that, it is only that, it is just a claim. Then I come to the media holding up a dirty mirror of science, the opaque lens. This is Massimiliano Bucci, I suppose that's the pronunciation, I'm not good in Italian. From the perspective of scientists, there has thus arisen a view of the media as a dirty mirror held up to science. I don't blame scientists that they don't want to speak to the media quite often, because we get it so wrong so often. Not because of our own fault. When I was at Die Burger and wrote a weekly column, and there's Ingo Capraro, he is the guy who said, let's publish this every week. He was the editor who supported me. Got me out of trouble quite often. We emphasize the point that no sub-editor will write the headline because they get it wrong all the time. So I insisted that I write it myself because I know what's in the story. I at least try to understand what I'm writing about. So this opaque lens, this dirty mirror, is unfortunately true. People see the media, people see science quite often through this dirty mirror, and then they don't understand it. They think, for example, that evolution is just a theory. So much so that Dr. Yuri van der Heever, sitting there, Guru paleontologist, teaches first-year medical students about evolution, because there are many of those students sitting in class becoming medical doctors who think evolution is just a theory. You can't deal with that. They have to treat patients. Where HIV is one of the best examples of evolutionary strength. Okay, an opaque lens unable adequately to reflect and filter scientific facts. Summarizing, the media should beware the dangers of celebrity culture when it comes to science. Science is too intricate to be left to ignoramuses, to scientifically illiterate journalists holding up a dirty mirror of science, reflecting through an opaque lens celebrities' view of life. And as Oreskes and Conway quoted Macbeth in Shakespeare in Macbeth, a tale told, are we as journalists not busy with a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing? That is the question we have to ask. And if we can't answer that question properly, I have been trying, I'm the chair of the South African National Editors Forum Science Training Committee. And we've been trying to get editors to appoint science editors at all South African media institutions. There's only one newspaper in this country who has a designated science editor, with a designated science list, and that is Business Day. Mail and Guardian had one, they closed down the science, there's Sarah Wild left, and the only science reporting takes place through your Bekisisa, which is a tragedy. In my own language, Afrikaans media, they worry about the 57-0 and the 38-3 hidings that Springboks get. Science, Elsevier has to fight for every story she wants to get on the front page of the book. That is the reality we deal with. And please go out there and clamour for proper science reporting. Thank you very much.